When we were on location, I showed an example of how you can do a big production for Fashion Flair. We had hair and makeup, we had wardrobe. You can keep it simple with little props, or you can go extravagant. But the same thing for Fashion Flair goes in the studio. You don't need a big production. You can do something simple. And that's what I'm going to show you today, is a couple little techniques basically to take your portraits from ordinary to extraordinary, from typical to something really original. So there's a couple different ways to do that. First of all, you can do hair, makeup, and wardrobe, and that's what I'm going to start with. I'm going to show how adding a hair piece for a model, doing a little bit more interesting posing, that might give you the little bit of extra fashion flair to stand out. After that, I'm going to show you some lighting. Lighting that's atypical. It's not the usual portrait lighting. So when you have that lighting, it looks like beauty lighting or it looks like fashion lighting. So that gives you a little bit of an edge. I've mentioned a few times that red is one of my favorite colors. It's something that I use over and over again. So we've used concepts before. We did the Little Red Riding Hood, we did Princess and the Frog, and really the concept for this Fashion Flair shoot is red. That was the idea behind it. And so it doesn't need to be a really deep or intense concept. You just need something to give a theme to the shoot. Now this, she's a beautiful model, so yes, she's a model. This could actually be a fashion shoot. But you could do this with pretty much any woman that wants to come in for a beauty portrait. You could do boudoir, so you could do lingerie that's themed red and red headpieces. You could also do it as kind of a prom theme if it's all red. You could also do just beauty. Pick red pieces, beautiful red headpiece, necklace. It comes together, that's the theme. So just talking about that, having a concept, just so that the client doesn't show up and they're just wearing, whatever shirt and regular hair and makeup, making a theme shows that you put that much more effort into it, and you can market to a different audience, to a different clientele. So we're going to start like this. We reached out to a local milliner who makes designer headpieces for this piece, but I know you can also get them on websites like Etsy. Etsy is a website where they basically make headpieces, jewelry, a wide variety of things. You can get headpieces there. We got the necklace at just one of those things like Claire's or icing at a mall. Fits the theme of red. We put on red lips, and then red dress. A lot of women have a red dress. So this entire production, it could be very minimal in cost, but it shows that you really put together an entire theme. So I'm going to show you a couple techniques on how I would shoot something if I did a Fashion Flair shoot. I've done this several times before for senior portraits. Especially in the days now where people are putting photos on Facebook, people want to show something a little different, something that's eye-catching. So we're going to make some beautiful images, and so I'm going to start you right over there. One of the most elemental basic pieces of studio equipment that pretty much any portrait photographer has is going to be a softbox. And so this is just real basic, a softbox kind of off to the side. The light is soft, it wraps. It's true that when you photograph a beautiful person, it's hard to take a bad photo. But I'm going to start with basic lighting and then show you how I add a little bit of fashion flair to it. So I'll start off like this and just give you an idea what a single softbox might look like. Right now, I'm going to shoot with my 70 to 200. I have a variety of lenses that I'll use in the studio. There's no right lens for the studio. But this lens in particular is really great for tight headshots. It's great because you can zoom. If you have a small studio space, you don't have to back all the way up. But a lot of times I'll shoot maybe around 100, 120. What it does is it gives a nice compression to the face and it flatters the features. So I'm going to do some nice headshots of her around 100, around 120, and show you what it looks like with some different lighting techniques. Beautiful. Let's take a look. And right now, I am shooting at ISO 100, f8 at 1/125th of a second. And when you're using a single light, you can get great photographs. You don't need a lot of lights. You don't need 5, 6, 7 lights in a setup to make a beautiful image. So this right now, when you have a single light, it's a little bit more raw and organic, kind of simple. It just wraps around the face. It's flattering. And what it's going to be is this is going to be a little bit more dramatic than my next setup, which will be glowing and beauty. One of the things that I focus on, and when I look at a picture, I take a look at the back and I say, okay, first of all, where's my eye going? I make sure the eye is going where I want it to be in the photograph. And typically, if it's a portrait, you want it going to the eyes. You want to capture the personality of the person. Even though there's so much red in the image, you still want to make sure that the attention is focused on the subject. So I like that. But if it's not dramatic enough, if I want a little bit more drama to the picture, I can move the light further off to the side. So here's how I think about it. If I want something more even and less dramatic, I'll bring the light more to the front. If I want something more dramatic, I bring the light further off to either the left or the right. It makes more defined shadows on either side of the face. So let me just do that real quick. I'm actually going to have you, Lila, move the light just a little bit to the right. So if I get more dramatic here, perfect, just like that, and point the light a little bit more back towards her, just angle it. Good, just like that. All right, so let's take a look. Good. And so the light just gets a little bit more dramatic. That's just a basic light setup, nothing too fashion flair. Really, this picture, if you just have one light, one softbox, if you want it to be more beauty, bring it in the front, more to the side, be more dramatic. But now I'm going to do a technique that I use a lot for beauty photography. I'm going to add 2 softboxes, okay? What you're concentrating on in this lighting technique is that you want 2 softboxes of equal size. And you're going to basically sandwich the model in between them. You're going to put them equidistant on either side of her. And what it does is it floods the light all over the face. It's just even, it's glowing, it's very dreamy, it's very, very soft. So when I'm doing a shoot, whatever my theme is, I said this is red, it can be any theme you come up with. When I say that theme and when I'm talking to the client, what comes to mind? Is it soft and dreamy and airy? Because if I'm going to do that, I might do something beauty like this next setup that I'm going to do. If it's harsh and dramatic, then I'd probably use different light modifiers and a different setup. So whenever you come up with a concept, make sure that your lighting matches that concept. Everything you're doing is telling that story. It's enhancing the image that you're creating. So have the concept, analyze it, light to fit the mood of that concept. So in this image, I am basically sandwiching her between these 2 large, equal size softboxes. It's light and it's glowing. You've probably seen, if you've really looked into beauty lighting, something you've probably seen before is called clamshell. What it usually is, it's a softbox or a beauty dish on the top, and then some kind of fill light from beneath. I'm basically doing something similar, except flipping it on its side. So it's clamshell, but sideways. And I'm just sandwiching it between those 2 lights. It's going to give that same glowing effect, beautiful catch lights in the eyes, a little bit of sparkle. Okay. I'm going to have you relax your shoulders a little bit. People always carry a lot of tension in their shoulders, so especially when you're posing beauty, if people have their shoulders up, they kind of lose the neck. So I always try to have people relax their shoulders, even pull them down. It elongates the neck, makes them look more slender, more relaxed. A lot of times too for women, if I can do something to just pull out the muscles in the neck, those tendons, that's something that I'm always looking for, specifically as a fashion photographer, beauty photographer, because it's really just something that I see a lot in beauty images. You'll see a lot in cosmetic campaigns. Beautiful lines. So beautiful, just like that. Good. And take a look. All right. I'm going to close down now because I was at F8 before, but now I've added another light. So I'm going to close down to around F11. Close down and stop. Perfect. Beautiful. And I really like that headpiece, and I want to emphasize it a little bit. So I'm going to have it actually turn your head just a little bit that way, and then big eyes back at me. Perfect. Great. And head down again. Good. Perfect. So looking at these pictures, the light is even. It's very glowing. But when I look at her, again, I want to emphasize her eyes. I have all that red. I want you to really connect with her eyes, with the subject. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand up on a chair, a stool, a ladder, whatever you have available to you. And when I shoot down at the high angle, whatever is closest to the camera looks biggest. So in this instance, if I'm up on a chair or on a stool and she's looking up at me, the thing that's closest to the camera is going to be her eyes. So I'm going to stand up there, and you'll see the difference. Now it's kind of a straight-on picture. It's even, it's nice, but when I get up at a higher angle, it's going to be much more about the eyes and connecting with the subject. Here you go, perfect. And I'm going to have you lean forward a bit, and then, yep, lift your chin up, perfect. And those catch lights look beautiful in the eyes. So let's shoot that. Perfect. Beautiful. Turn your head down just a little bit. Perfect, just like that. So I'm going to put a hand into the mix to add a little bit of interest to the photograph. So I'm going to have you take that hand and put it soft into the hair. Just real soft and a little bit higher. If you want to go further with the red theme, I could have added a red ring and could add red fingernails. It just depends on what works for you. I'm just going to do that real quick. And I'm going to add another hand. And what I'm doing here is I'm just adding interest, telling a little bit more story. If it's just a picture of her face, it's a beauty shot. But then when I add hands and I add a little bit of sensuality to it, it's just giving a little bit more personality, a little more storytelling. So put that hand up and bring the other arm around to that. Bring it over to the other hand. Good. Yes, right there. Perfect. That's perfect. Okay. And she is great with posing her hands. A lot of times people, their hands just look like big distractions in the photograph. They're light colored and they're large. I mean, putting them up to the side of the face. So a couple things you want to watch for with hands, first of all, is you never want it to be, never, okay. I'll tell you also with fashion photography, you want to break the rules. So sometimes when I say never, don't take it literally. But you never want to have the hand with the back of the hand straight towards the camera, and specifically never with the palm straight at the camera. You don't usually want fists. You don't want tight fingers. You don't want rigid, actual rigid fingers themselves. What I'm usually doing is I'm having the hand turn sideways to the camera. So it's smaller, and I'm looking for that nice, smooth curve. So when she has her hands up in her hair, it's not putting the palm or the back of the hand. It's the side of the hand. And I never want to have hair fingers so that they're really tight or so that they're really rigid. Just soft. I have people wiggle their fingers if the hand doesn't look right. So turn it sideways, soft fingers. You were doing great because you know how to pose your hands, so I'll have you do that again. That looked great. Perfect. Just like that. That's great.